Hey YouTube, RepoMan64. I'm going to give this program a shot again here to see if I can make it work and show you where I think we're at on the timeline and what's going on as far as the rapture occurring in the time we thought it was going to. This is just an idea, a thought that I'm putting out there. Hope for everyone to keep watching and what I see happening literally right before our eyes. And let me show you that. Let's go here first to the timeline. Hopefully my screen sharing is happening like it's supposed to. All right. We're going to zoom in here. This, on March 29th, is where Jesus had his Last Supper. That evening in the garden, the soldiers came to take him away. Early in the morning, on the 30th, now all this is Jerusalem time. So, for example, right now it is 6 p.m. here. So that makes it 1 a.m. in Israel. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Jesus was sitting in a jail cell or being held until the morning where he would be judged by Pontius Pilate. That's right here. Now, I know that we've passed this time, and I'm going to show you what I think has happened as we pass this time. Tomorrow, early in the morning, March 30th, and again, we're 7 days off, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. March 30th, Jesus is taken up to the top there with Pontius Pilate, and Barabbas is offered, and Jesus is offered to go free. Not to be crucified. And they screamed out from the bottom that they wanted Jesus crucified. They did not want Barabbas crucified. Barabbas went free right here at this time on March the 30th. 3 days later, 3 full days, 72 hours, not counting the 30th, not counting the night from the 2nd, because he didn't complete the night. He rose at some point in the night. They were on a Sabbath. They did not go anywhere near that tomb where Jesus was laid to rest. From sundown on the 2nd, it became the 3rd. That's why there's a little confusion around this time here. It's actually the 2nd. And for us, since we are, since we're behind Israel, it's still the 2nd. But for over there in Israel, it became the 3rd. Okay, so let me get out of here and show you this real quick. This was sent to me by, I can barely see these things. This was sent to me by, I always forget, studies. Maybe it's on here. Let me look. End Time Studies at gmail.com or endtimestudies.com. All right. She went ahead and put in all the dates. So when I speak of, and I have to put my glasses on here, she built this for me. This is high-tech stuff that I don't have, but she built this for me. And you'll see here on March 30th is when Jesus did go to the cross in 30 AD. March 30th, 30 AD, exactly 33 years and 182 days when he was born on 3 BC, September the 29th. He was conceived on December the 25th. That's when he came here. So he was crucified right now on the 29th. But what happens when you go down to the first sliver of the moon after the equinox? It moves forward exactly 7 days. Again, we have to take into account that what's happening in Israel is not the same as here. So April the 5th is when Jesus is taken. 7 days exactly later than what we thought. And I'm going to show you why I think that that's what we're supposed to be looking at here in a moment. So April the 5th, Jesus rises on April the 8th, very early in the morning, so it'd be April the 9th. All right. Let me go to the calendar, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. This is the last Sabbath. This sets up the Sabbaths for the following year. The Sabbath fell on the 16th. The Enoch timeline is the only timeline out of all the timelines that everybody has looked at or has brought forth. Enoch timeline is the only one that finds the Sabbath. The last Sabbath is the 16th, which is this year happens to fall on a Thursday. If the Gregorian calendar were accurate, it would always fall on a Saturday, but it does not. It falls this year on a Thursday. That means every Thursday throughout the year, the Sabbath will fall on a Thursday. Now, the first sliver of the moon after the equinox, the Jews went out, remember, on the 22nd, and they couldn't see it because it was cloud covered. They should have seen it, but because God wanted, I believe, and I say that just from what I'm going through here, trying to understand all of this, I believe that God did not allow them to see the moon on this day, but he did allow them to see the moon on this day. Guess what day that is? It is a Sabbath. If it's a Sabbath, what they have done is, because it's a Sabbath, went the wrong way. Sorry about that. Let's go to April. It comes here. Again, remember the Thursday is always the Sabbath. This is the night that Jesus dies on the Enoch timeline. But if you go down here, the Jews are saying Passover begins here, which is true. Passover does begin there, but the Sabbath, unbeknownst to them, is on the 6th, a Thursday on the 6th, which is tomorrow. So what happened right now, 1,993 years and 7 days ago, back in those days, God knew that they would not abide by the timeline that was originally set up from the garden, that they would go their own way. The moon timeline is warned about in Enoch not to follow the moon because it will always set them off course. So on the 5th, today, Jesus held the Last Supper at, I'm guessing, right around dusk, right around dark time, and that would have happened around 7 p.m. So that was noon here in Eastern Standard Time in the United States. Currently, it is 6 p.m. At 5 p.m., it was midnight in Israel. Right now it's 6 p.m. It is 1 o'clock in the morning in Israel. Remember, at nightfall in Israel, it already became the 6th. It is not the 6th for us yet. So, they've taken Jesus. Jesus had his Last Supper. He goes to the garden. They take him. He is being held. In the morning on the 6th, Jesus will be judged. He will stand up there with Pontius Pilate and Barabbas, and they will insist that Jesus is sacrificed and Barabbas is set free. He will be crucified at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He will die on the cross. I want you to notice up here on the 30th, when this event actually took place 7 days earlier on the Sabbath at 3 p.m. Israel time, Jesus dies. What are the Jews looking at for today as being? They're looking at today as being the Sabbath. They're looking at today as the beginning of their Passover. I said back here, Passover must begin here because this is 14 days from the Sabbath. But they are looking here because it is 14 days from the head of their year. They're calling the head of the year on the 23rd. Ironically, or coincidentally, that just happens to be a Sabbath. All right, let me see if I can get everybody to follow this with me. Today, or tomorrow, here, but in Israel right now, again, it's 1 a.m. At midnight, our time, it will be 7 a.m. in Israel. midnight Eastern Standard Time will be 7 a.m. in Israel. They will take Jesus. They will beat him. They will put a crown of thorns on him. They will put a robe on him, and they will crucify him, and they will hang him on a cross. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Israel time, on the 6th, Jesus will give up the ghost. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Israel time, is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have, I think, personally, we have two events to look forward to. We have the event of the 6th, when Jesus says, "It is finished." He says that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is finished. He goes and is buried in 3 days. This day does not count. Even though it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's still daylight. It does not count. You have the night of the 6th, which is actually the 7th, the 8th, the 9th. And on Monday, now remember, on the 9th, in Israel, after dark, they will not be anywhere near that tomb because it is a Passover for them. Jesus will rise on the 9th before, even though it's the 10th at nightfall, and even though it becomes the 10th for us at midnight, he will rise at some point, and I might suggest perhaps it's 3 a.m. since he gave up the ghost at 3 p.m. At 3 a.m., and he waits. He waits there until they show up before light, and they are ready to embalm him. But they go in and find that the tomb is empty and the napkin is folded, which meaning that Jesus will be returning. So another high watch day for me. Here's the 10th. 3 o'clock in the morning would be for us. Would be what? 3 o'clock in the morning would be 7. Would that be, let's see, 9? It would be 8 p.m. for us here in the United States on the 9th. Still the 9th because it hasn't reached midnight for us. It is the 10th for the Jews because they count the next day, or the Bible says they count the next day at nightfall. Okay, let's get out of that. And I want to show you, let's see here. I hope that's been recording the screen this whole time. I really do. Let's see here. All right. Now, these are the verses that talk about keeping the Sabbath. This is a commandment from God. It's the one commandment that we will say, if we follow it, we're trying to keep the law, and we are under grace, not under the law. I think what the passage means is to find your Sabbath, so that way you know exactly when these events begin. And coincidentally, exactly 7 days after the head of the year, after the first Sabbath of the 16th, exactly 7 days later, you land on the 23rd, which is the day they are calling the head of the year, and also their Sabbath. The day that Jesus went 1 week later to the cross. 2 weeks, 14 days later to the cross. But it says down here, many passages will say, for 6 days you work, 7 day you have to keep it holy. Holy. Let's see down here, right here in Luke 11:29. This evil generation keeps asking me to show them. As the crowds increase, Jesus said, "This wicked generation, it will ask for a sign." Oh, that's not it. Ask for a sign. There is many passages. There's 24 actually passages that say that the Sabbath is a sign from me unto you. Keep my Sabbaths holy, for they are right down here. Ezekiel 20:20. Right here. Keep my Sabbath holy, that they may be a sign. You will know that I am the Lord your God. Keep my Sabbath days holy, and they are a sign to you from me. So now let's go in here. Let me see. That shouldn't be showing. Let's see here. I should be on King James. I think this thing jumped. Where did King James go? So there it is. Okay. Genesis 7:9. I had all this prepared, but my computer was lagging really bad, so I had to do a restart on this. I'm going to guess it's somewhere around here. Let's go find it. Feel like it's lagging again for some reason. I don't know what happened here. There we go. Floodwaters, duration of the flood. This story that we're about to read, floodwaters arrive. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for right here. Entering the ark. And the Lord said, and you find this in Genesis 7, looks like verse 1. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. For every clean beast thou shalt take unto thee by 7, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean 2, and the male his female. Of the fowls of the air 7s, male, female, and keep the seed alive upon the face of the earth. For yet 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made I will destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord had commanded him. So, what does that mean? 7 days. Imagine for a moment, let's see here if I can do this. There we go. Imagine for a moment that God has told you to build an ark. He's told you to warn everybody that this event is going to come. And we've been warning everybody. I am not a YouTuber. I don't have a lot of technology, just a lot of studying on this timeline. There are others that have done so much amazing work. And I've just found, I was drawn years ago to find the Sabbath. And I think I did. I think it is March 16th. I have not wavered from that. I put the other timelines on there in the event that God might decide to use another timeline. But imagine, if you will, for a moment, God says, Noah, I'm going to flood the earth. And in 120 years from today, I'm going to flood the earth, and you need to build an ark. And I'm going to send you the schematics on how to build this ark, which you'll find that information in the Legends of the Jews. You can read all that information. There's so much more information explaining exactly the events that took place. We don't need to know them, honestly. We don't really need to know them. We have all we need. We know that there was a 7-day delay. We know that God told Noah to get into the ark. He sat at the door. He sat there for 7 days. And 7 days later, God shut the door. So imagine being Noah, and God says, it's October the 24th. God says, all right, 120 years, you need to warn people when your, is it father? I don't remember the genealogy. I have to look that up. I believe Lamech died 5 years prior to the flood. And I'm going to guess it was October the 24th when he died. And he begins building the ark. He's given all the schematics on how to build the ark, and he's building the ark. Then Methuselah, again, a conversation you'll find in the legends of the Jews, just asked God. He is the oldest living person on the face of the earth, 969 years old, on October the 24th, 7 days before the flood. The flood occurred on October the 31st. There is a conversation you can read about where Methuselah told God, please take me or let me die before the flood because I don't want to be counted amongst the wicked. And he was a pious man. He was the legend of the Jews describes him as a pious man. He was also warning everybody, just like Noah, that this event was going to take place. In the legends of the Jews, you'll see that he died on October the 24th, exactly 7 days prior to the flood. Why is there that 7-day gap? Now, I have had comments, and I neglected to look them up, or I didn't have time to look them up, but there is another event that was supposed to take place, and somebody put it in the comments, and I don't recall what it was, but it was exactly the same scenario. Something was supposed to happen, and then 7 days later is when it did happen. God gave them an extra 7 days. Now, they were at the end of grace. God warned them and warned them. Noah warned them and warned them. He warned them for 120 years. They watched him build an ark for 5 years. It took him 5 years to build the ark. He began building when Lamech died. Methuselah died on October the 24th. God gave it yet another 7 days. Another 7 days. Well, not yet another, but he gave him 7 days because the flood was told to Noah that it would occur on October the 24th. And God said, get into the ark October the 24th. Noah's sitting there at the door, and everybody's outside laughing because it didn't happen. Does that sound like anything that's going on today? Just like Elijah and Elisha. Remember, I don't know if anybody picks up on this when they're reading the story of Elijah and Elisha, but every town they go to, there are these people who have been preached to by Elijah, and they never talk to Elijah, they talk to Elisha. And they tell Elisha, hey, what's up? What are you doing here? Don't you know that today your master will be taken to heaven? They are ridiculing him. They are laughing at him. And Elisha, yeah, okay, whatever. He also, he's following, but he is, I will say, he is a lukewarm Christian at that time. Of course, he's not a Christian, but you know what I'm saying. Now, he has been told the same thing in every town he goes into. You have been told for a couple of years now, pretty much since the Revelation 12 sign, hey, this could be it. Hey, this could be it. Hey, this could be it. And most of you have hung in there and offered actual help trying to figure this out. And most of you can't wait for this moment to come and are trying to figure it out yourself. Just like Elisha was told by every town. They read it for yourself. Every single town that Elisha and Elijah walked into, they cornered Elisha going, hey, what's up? You know he's leaving today, right? And Elisha, yeah, okay, whatever. It happens 3 or 4 times. I would say that if you read it and you could track how far they walked, I think that from the moment the first discussion of Elijah being taken until Elisha actually being taken, there is a period of time. How long that is, I don't know. Is it 7 days? I don't know. What I do know is that Elisha's following. He is a follower. He believes in Jesus, but he does not believe in this rapture event. The second that this whirlwind comes down, tornado, whatever you want to call it, and separates the two, Elijah from Elisha, and Elijah says, if you see me go, the 50 prophets behind them saw the same event, but they went up on the mountains trying to find his dead body. They figured that he was taken away in a tornado and that he was dropped somewhere on a mountain. They did not believe what they had seen. But Elisha knew exactly what he had seen. And the second he saw it, just like Elijah said, if you see me go, I will cast down my cloak and you will receive a double portion. These are the saints of the tribulation. And again, I say this almost every single video. I cannot prove anywhere that the 6 seals are not opened up within 6 days after the event finally takes place. I can't prove anywhere. And again, those 7 days are being set up twice. You have the 7 days that we're waiting now. We're sitting at the ark door just looking, wondering when this is going to happen, and I don't want to think for Noah in any kind of way, but God told him on October the 24th, in 120 years, I'm going to flood the earth. And it comes to October the 24th, and God says, all right, we're here. You did all that work. You warned everybody. Nobody would listen. Get into the ark. And they go and they get into the ark, and he sits there at the entrance of the ark. And he waits, and nothing happens. You know what that feels like, right? Yeah, I feel it all the time. We're waiting, and so far, nothing has happened. Now, somebody on either Facebook, I watch a lot of stuff, study a lot of stuff. Somebody made a comment, and I talked about it in my little group that I talk about with Tony from the Cataclysm, Tony Early, and Spinebreaker, and with Will from Worship and Watch. And we're talking about this, and I don't remember, it might have been in there that I saw it, but they are equating Trump being arrested, and amazingly, the timeline is exactly when Jesus was arrested. Now, I would be curious tomorrow to see if what's going to happen, and I don't know. It's going to be incredible. But are they equating Trump? Is that the replacement or the explanation for Jesus being? I don't know. I mean, that was something pretty profound. When I saw, I was like, what? That's pretty cool. So I digress. We go back to Elisha, this second, which is why I don't think it's going to take 3.5 years. As a matter of fact, we all say the same thing. God's turning his attention back to the Jews. How is he going? I mean, I'm not saying God can't multitask. He can, but our understanding is that he's going to turn his attention back to the Jews. He is not going to concern himself with the sleepy church. I would say that we are sitting in the open ark right now, and that we are about to see this rapture event take place. I hope, you hope, we all hope, and that the rapture will occur. And just like Elisha, they will just rip off the world. That's what Elisha did. Elisha just rent his clothes. He tore them off because everything he thought he had, he didn't have. But what did he do instantly? He put on the mantle that was sent down to him by Elisha, and he received a double portion. He immediately struck the water, immediately turns around, strikes the water that they just struck to walk across. Elijah struck that water to walk across with Elisha. Elisha struck the water to walk back across by himself. And straight away, you have the story of the bears coming out of the woods and turmoil instantly. So again, is it 6 days? Is it 7 days after the rapture of the bride that the saints come home? And if you'll read the account in Revelation, you'll notice that it goes straight from the bride, and they flip him around. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Hey, John, look over here. Hey, John, look over here. Hey, this is a seal. Come check this out. Look at this. Oh, who are these people? I don't know. I'm not from heaven. You are. Who are these people? Oh, those are the people that came out of tribulation. They have washed their robes white. They appear a great multitude that no man can count. They have palm branches in their hands. There's no discussion of a mansion. There's no discussion of crowns. There's no discussion of a rod of iron, a banquet, and us casting our crowns at the one that actually deserves them. Because we will be as Barabbas. We will know that we don't deserve it. All right, let me go back to where I was. Let's see here. I hope this is recording my screen. Let's see here. I'm going to go through these pictures one by one. I got asked this question a couple of times. Who are the two witnesses? They are Moses and Elijah. The Bible tells us who they are. They are Moses and Elijah. I heard somebody tell me that one of them has a genealogy and the other one does not. One is to the Jew, one is to the Gentile. I don't know. I heard that somebody tell me that. I thought that was pretty profound. And then that's the timeline from End Time Studies / End Time / Studies.com. I'll have to put that in the bottom. Let's take a look at this. I can't see these pictures until I get them bigger. All right, so you heard Dr. Barry showing that from the Revelation 12 sign until April the 9th, it is 2000, or is April the 6th? I can't recall. It's the next picture. Until April the 6th, it is 2023 days. Now, notice that on April the 2nd is the date they took Jesus. Am I right about that? No, that's the date that Jesus was in the tomb and he rose on April the 2nd, early in the morning, making it April the 3rd. 2017 days from the Revelation 12 sign. Can I do this? Okay, and here's what Dr. Barry showed you, which I agree with. Obviously, it's time and date. It's true. September 23rd, 2017, 2023 days. April the 8th. I had the date wrong. April the 8th. But it is exactly 7 days later, which is incredible that shows both of them perfectly. This guy, Will Johanning, left me a comment. This is Discord. Left me a comment in Discord. He said, I noticed this Sunday, April the 9th, the day of the resurrection of Christ and the saints is 153 days after November. Now remember, the blood moon came on November, I think it was November the 8th, right? Was that it? I think it was November the 8th. Blood moon, 153 days later, which is pretty astounding. I mean, the numbers line up, 153 fish. The Hebrew calendar, if it is Nisan 17, is a triangle of 153. So I thought that was pretty cool that he found that out. And I did the math, of course, to make sure. April the 9th. Yeah, there it is, November the 8th. That's when the blood moon happened. And April the 9th, when the world is looking at the Passover, 1 week later than what it's almost like God allowed this. Honestly, that's why they didn't see the sun. I mean, the moon on the second when they should on the 22nd, like they should have. They saw it on the 23rd. They just moved it perfectly 7 days, just the same exact 7 days that Noah sat at that ark door. 153 days. I don't know what that is. Okay, tomorrow's world. This was showing that what I was telling you, that all the events that took place for Jesus. Jesus was celebrating the Passover dinner. You can read that in Luke. Jesus prayed 3 times. You can see that in Mark. Jesus was betrayed and arrested. You'll also see that in Mark. Jesus bound and delivered to Pilate. These are the times, the times that these things happen. 9 a.m., the crucifixion began. From 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there was darkness over the whole land. So what time, if it's 12 o'clock where darkness strikes on Passover tomorrow, that would make it, if it's 12 o'clock noon in Israel, that would make it 5 a.m. here in the East Coast. Jesus died for the world 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Jesus they made sure he was dead. He was in the tomb. He went into the tomb at 3 o'clock. Well, at some point before nightfall, they had to. Sometime before nightfall. That night, 1 and 2, day and night 2, and day and night 3. Jesus rose. He could have rose any time after sunset. We don't know when he did. No one was near that gravesite. They couldn't because it was the Sabbath. They couldn't go near it. Just like the Eastern Gate over there in Jerusalem, that's sealed up. they put a graveyard right in front of it. Isn't it going to be funny when those graves are thrown open and all those people go to heaven and there are no graves there, and Jesus is and he will walk in through there because there will be nobody in those graves. So then we have Jesus being found out that he's not there on that day. I wanted to show you something else. Let me see here. Where did I get to? Let me see what this is. The last Sabbath. Oh, that's just showing that March 16th is the setting up the Sabbath for the following year. All right, let me see here. Let me go back to here. This will take a second to open up. There it goes. Okay, so Jesus rises. I want to show you something here. Jesus, right here, dies at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But wait, 7 days later, he dies at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 6th, tomorrow. When we read the Bible, we find that Jesus meets Thomas in the upper room on the 10th. On my timeline, so that would be on the 17th. Is that right? On the 9th. He meets him exactly 8 days later. I'm going to have to check out why that's not lined. Let's see here. The 3rd. Oh, it does line up. Okay. The 3rd is when Jesus rises. I'm on the wrong day over here. The 3rd is when Jesus rises. Is that right? Hold on a second. I've confused myself. He rises early Sunday morning, which this year is a Monday. And then on the 10th, oh, yeah, because we've been looking at Crucifixion Day over here. So I see what I did wrong. This is Resurrection Day. This is the day he rises. He rises on the 2nd at night, but it becomes the 3rd. 7 days later, okay, he meets Thomas in the upper room. But wait, when we do all this and we give the 72 hours, and then he rises, this is the 7-day delay. He will delay and rise on the 10th. 7 days later, he will meet Thomas in the upper room. What happens when you back up 7 days? You land on the 10th. The 10th is when I say they meet Thomas in the upper room. We have a dual event taking place. The 3rd is when Jesus rises on the Enoch timeline. The 10th is when Jesus rises, according to the world, the 7-day delay. The 17th is when they see Thomas in the upper room, according to them. According to the Enoch timeline, Thomas is the upper room, is here. So we have a dual event taking place, an overlap of 7 days of Thomas in the upper room. Now remember, see if I can get back to where I was here. It's hot in this room. I don't have the AC on in here. Now remember that Jesus rises. There are conversations in the book of Luke and in the book of John about them touching him. It was an intimate thing to touch. Remember, he told Mary, "Don't touch me, for I have not ascended unto my Father." But you do see it recorded in Luke and in John that he was touched. You will not see that he was touched in Matthew and in Mark, the sleepy church. You won't see that happen. Why? Because that conversation is taking place in heaven. In heaven, it's an intimate thing. In heaven, we are touching Jesus. There is no touching of Jesus by any other group other than the Luke group and the John group. Okay? Jesus, when he rises, he appears, you'll read about it, he appears throughout the day. I think perhaps the other timeline, that the other date that I'm looking at will be the 7th. Is that right? The 6th or 7th? What Monday? What day was that? Yeah, I believe it was the 7th, or I don't recall now. I'm going to have to go look. But when Jesus rises, he does not He stays throughout the day, but he does not stay there for those 7 days. He goes to heaven for 7 days. That's what's so exciting about this. When he rose, many of the bodies of the saints rose with him. The dead in Christ have already risen. They've already risen. It happened 2,000 years ago. What didn't happen was a rapture event. But 2,000 years ago, the dead in Christ rose. Now, I'm not saying that the dead in Christ aren't going to rise now. But what I am saying is that it already occurred. But what didn't occur was a rapture event. When they rose, they went to heaven with Jesus. It says they walked into the city. That is an image of them walking into heaven. And it might very well be us, the bride, that walks, that rises on the same moment Jesus rises on, I think it's April the 10th, because I'm 7 days off, right? It's got to be April the 10th. April the 10th, because the 9th is the previous day. So we rise, Jesus goes to heaven, or he is in heaven, and we spend 7 days with him. Those 7 days, the same 7 days of the ark, the same 7 days that Jesus finally comes back. We know that Jesus has not walked with them for those 7 days. It says Jesus walked with them for 40 days. We know he was not walking with them for those 7 days from the time he rose until the time that he visits Thomas in the upper room, because we find them locked in that room. The Bible records that the door was locked. Why was it locked? They were afraid of the Pharisees coming after them. They were not, there is no record of them being in that upper room after he comes back and proves to Thomas that he had risen. And again, upper room. The 40-day count begins after the upper room. Those 7 days are the 7 days that Noah was holding in the ark and nothing happened for 7 days. Those 7 days are the same 7 days that Jesus rises, and then 7 days later he finds Thomas and them in the upper room, locked in, and then he walks with them for 40 days. After he walks with them for 40 days, he goes, it's Ascension Day. He goes on Ascension Day. 3 days later, 3 days, not 10 days, 3 days after Ascension Day is Shavuot, Feast of Weeks. This happens on Sivan 6, the 66th day of the year. This is the day the Holy Spirit is sent down here to teach people like us what we're doing, going through this. So I wanted to put all that out there, a little bit of encouragement. Still looking at all this and trying to figure it out. I wanted to get on here and make a quick video. I don't know how long I've been on here, so I need to get off, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody, and accept the Lord into your heart. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go visit that website, endtime-studies.com. I'll put a link in the comment section, and look at the timeline. And she puts all of the other dates. I decided this year not to do that. Kind of regretting it now because that 7 day delay, the 7 days of Noah's Ark. And there was another 7 days that somebody told me about. I just don't recall where it was. The 7 days that he comes back from heaven after being with those people that rose with him to Thomas in the upper room, locked upper room. So we know that the 40-day count began at when Thomas was there. So anyway, I think I did everything. Guess we'll chat with you again later if I find anything else out, or we'll see you in heaven. A big hug. Won't be so hot there, right? No, it's not hot there. It'll be perfect temperature. I'll be big and strong. So, all right, Repo Man 64. We'll chat with you again later.